Jeet Kune Do, the way of the intercepting fist. Bruce Lee's masterpiece. Every martial artist on the planet knows about this style. Well, I happened to drop in at a class at JKD, Colorado, where I was able to experience firsthand exactly what Jeet Kune Do training is all about. So in this video, I'm going to show you guys what I learned, what my takeaways are, and how you can use JKD to help you in your training, regardless of what style you practice in. But before we do that, make sure you're subscribed and you have notifications turned on. That way, you never miss a new video. Huzzah! Right out the gate, let's talk about what the style with no style actually means. Is it possible to practice anything, martial art or otherwise, without it having a distinct look and set of practices to it? The answer is yes, if you take that quote literally. If you are obsessed with not having any style, then yeah, you can just practice anything you want and still call it a martial art or still call it crocheting. The style with no style means that it doesn't have a set curriculum that can never be changed. It means that it will adapt based on what the school, the practitioner, and the student needs. Sometimes you want to throw straight boxing style strikes. Sometimes you might need to throw more karate style strikes. Sometimes you might need to grapple. Sometimes you might need to throw. Any practice that makes you a better martial artist and a better fighter will be added to the Jeet Kune Do arsenal. And Jeet Kune Do does have a very distinct style to it. If you look at the footage of Bruce Lee fighting in his movies, he has a very distinct way of moving. He stands very bladed with a very lead hand and lead leg dominant style. Not quite the way karate point fighting works, but almost. What I would say Bruce Lee's style most resembles is fencing. He uses his lead hand like a saber to dart in and land precise, powerful strikes, then retreat back or at an angle extremely quickly. So I would say the Jeet Kune Do style is a bare knuckle fencing style, replacing the saber with the hand and the leg. Let's talk about the Jeet Kune Do stance. From this position, I'm going to take my right foot and take half a step behind me, turning my foot out to 1 o'clock. Now I'm going to take my lead foot and do the same, lining up my big toe with the middle of my rear foot. I don't want to go toe heel, and I don't want to go toe to toe. I want to line up with the middle of my rear foot and then lift the rear heel. This is because, again, JKD is a fencing-based style. And with my heel elevated like this, I can use the ball of my foot to spring forward at my opponent. If my heel is down, yes, I can still push into that strike, but I won't be able to get nearly as much spring as I can with the heel up. From a different angle, I'm here. My lead toe is pointing towards 1 o'clock. My rear foot is heel elevated. I'm going to take my right hand, like I do in the Philly shell, and do it for all of my defense. It can cover the body, it can cover the head, it can catch punches, whatever. My right hand is all of my defense. Quick interruption. Because Jeet Kune Do is a fencing-based style, rather than keeping the dominant hand in the back, like we do in boxing, they actually keep the dominant hand in the front. Meaning, if you're an orthodox fighter usually, you will keep your right hand in front. If you're a southpaw fighter, you'll keep your left hand in front. Anyway, let's get back to the stance. In traditional striking, you will throw the jab with your shoulders squared up, meaning my rear shoulder doesn't pivot over as I throw the strike. The goal with the jab is to be fast and probing, but with Jeet Kune Do, because they're already standing so bladed, they add a little more rotation from the hip to turn this into a solid straight lead. Traditionally, when you stand full on like this, you're able to use your lead side and your rear side pretty equally. You don't have to make any adjustments to throw the jab cross. But with the Jeet Kune Do stance, because you're favoring this lead side so much, you kind of lose the rear hand. Now, at this point you have two choices. You can throw kind of a wimpy right hand or wimpy right leg. And if you're trying to score points, that's fine. But if you want to put power into your strike, you have to take yourself from this bladed stance and open yourself up to a more squared off stance. I throw my straight lead. It lands pretty solidly, but my opponent isn't dead. Now I want to throw my second punch. As I do that, I'm going to allow my hip and leg to carry over. I throw my right hand, boom. Again, from here I throw the straight lead, step over, boom. Facing forward, 1, 2. In the beginning, this will slow you down a little bit, but as you practice with it, the idea of carrying your hip over becomes very easy and very natural. One more time. If I'm going to throw the Jeet Kune Do straight lead and I want to follow up with my right hand, rather than just rotating in place, I'm going to let my hip carry over. One more time, I come in here. Now, you can create power in a couple different ways. You can swing your arms much harder, which telegraphs your punches and makes them much easier to avoid. Or you can do what Jeet Kune Do does and drop leverage into your strikes, meaning you're dropping your body weight into every single punch you throw. Every time you drop your weight into your strike, you're putting power behind your hand. So, less effort for more reward. All of that coming from the fact that I let my weight drop into my strikes. Now earlier, when I demonstrated the 1-2, it was based off of the push step, meaning I was pushing off my rear foot to propel myself forward. Then, to come back where I came from, I was pushing off of the lead foot. This is very standard footwork present in nearly every single style of martial art. So we're not going to spend too much time on it. But the second style of footwork that we worked on was the slide step, which you see a little bit more of in karate and obviously in Jeet Kune Do. I'm going to take my lead foot, bring it back to my rear foot, and then my rear foot is going to slide back behind me. Again, I'm here, 1, 2. A little faster, boom, there I go. Again, I'm here, or moving forward, I bring my rear foot in, sliding forward. It's a way of replacing where I am, removing my center of mass without hopping or stepping. It's a quick, easy way to transition. If, when I come in with the 1-2, my opponent rushes towards me, I can slide step back into the long range and then shoot back in with either the cross or preferably one of my big kicks. So again, I can commit forward with the push step, control range with the slide, and then come back in with my kick. It's one of my favorite ways to go close in for boxing, back out for kicking. Now, a criticism commonly levied against Jeet Kune Do is that it's too linear, meaning its training is based exclusively on going in and going out. There's no angling, there's no circling. That's only true if you don't know the style. Fortunately, I took a whole class and I know everything about the style now. But in all seriousness, Mr. Gittleson explained that the same footwork you use to retreat backwards, you can use to retreat at an angle, which is what we're going to do now. So, once again, I'm going to open up with the 1-2. Then I'm going to do the sliding step, but instead of going backwards towards 6 o'clock, I'm going to slide out towards 7 o'clock. Then from there, I can follow up with the rear hand, or the lead leg, whatever you want to use. Again, I come in here, boom, boom, slide out, boom. Facing the camera, I'm going to come in, 1-2, slide step out, follow with the cross, uppercut, whatever I want, then retreat back where I came from. Just because you learned a certain technique or a certain footwork pattern done a certain way, doesn't mean it always has to be done that way. The goal with the slide step is to make yourself weightless, to freely move in any direction you want. Yes, forward and backwards is the easiest way to learn it. But after a while, you're able to put that footwork to whatever use you want to use it for. Now, I'm not going to go over every single thing we learned because A, you're seeing clips of it, and B, you should go check out a Jeet Kune Do class for yourself. But I am going to go over what I think was the coolest thing we learned. That being the Jeet Kune Do version of the retreating jab. Now, every style I've trained in has a version of the retreating jab. They either slide back as they throw the punch, or they'll step back as they throw the punch. Doesn't matter, you're moving your body backwards as you're throwing your hand forwards. But is that really true? Let's take a look at this movement in slow motion. As I step backwards, I am throwing my lead hand out in front. But my center of mass is moving this way. This might be annoying and it might deter my opponent from rushing towards me, but there's nothing in that strike. The Jeet Kune Do version that I learned is a way to throw the upper body's momentum forward while your lower body propels backwards. I'm calling this kind of a heaving motion where I look like I'm about to puke. I let my body round upwards, and as I do that, I'm going to puke out a punch. Again, I'm here, boom. As I do that, I'm going to do the slide step with my feet. I let my feet slide backwards, and boom. My legs are going backwards as I'm heaving into this punch. It is a way for me to pendulum my weight forward as my legs go backwards. Another way to think about this is that someone is throwing a strike at your stomach and you're hollowing out of the way as you throw a strike up top. This is a really good strike to throw as you're taking an angle. For example, let's say I come in with my 1-2. Then, just like earlier, I'm going to do my sliding step out to the side. That's a really good angle to take, but if I don't put anything in my opponent's face, he might know where I'm going and meet me before I get there. So, to prevent that, I'm going to use that retreating jab. So I come in, 1-2, boom, boom, slide out, wham, there it is. Then I follow up with my big strikes. Again, I'm here, 1-2, wham, boom. It's a really good way to turn what is more or less a deterrent strike into a power strike. One more time, I'm here. It's also just a mean thing to do to somebody. So like I said, you guys, there's a lot more that we could talk about in this video. But A, I'm not a Jeet Kune Do expert, so I don't want to talk out of school. And B, I really do think the best way for you to get the most out of this is to just try a Jeet Kune Do class. Find yourself a quality instructor, I recommend JKD Colorado, and then see for yourself what Jeet Kune Do philosophy can do for your martial arts training. It doesn't matter if you're a judoka, doesn't matter if you're a boxer, doesn't matter if you do competitive Tai Chi. I think Jeet Kune Do's philosophy has something to offer everybody, regardless of style. All that being said, if you enjoyed today's video, if you feel like you learned something, and if you're looking for a channel that combines the practicality of combat sports with the reality of self-defense and the fun of traditional martial arts, then please be sure to subscribe, tap the notification bell, like, share, and leave a comment. If you're looking to support the channel, head on over to combatsd.square.site, where you can pick up the official Combat Self-Defense t-shirt, coffee mug, crop top, or anything else on that site. That honestly will go a long way to helping me grow this channel. This has been Rob from Combat Self-Defense. I want to thank you guys for all the hard work. Thank you for the hard work yet to be done, and I'll see you next time.